The movie kicks off in 1974 in a home that's anything but warm. A woman is standing over a steaming pot, her hands carefully molding hot wax into intricate masks. The air is thick with the smell of melted wax, sharp and suffocating, mixing with the faint hum of a quiet morning. Her young son, seated in a high chair, eats his breakfast, unaware of the dark events about to unfold. But then, the door slams open, and the father bursts in, his face pale with panic. He's holding their second son, wild-eyed, kicking and thrashing like a trapped animal. The boy's screams slice through the air, pure madness. So, the father forces him into the high chair, strapping him down tightly, as if afraid the child might snap in two. The tension thickens as the woman glances over at the two boys, her eyes cold with something almost detached. The second son, now subdued but trembling, is harshly compared to his calm sibling, his violent nature painted in stark contrast. It's clear, something is wrong here. Something dark that can't be easily erased by the comfort of the breakfast table. As the wax simmers, so do the secrets lurking beneath the surface. The present. 6 friends are driving to a much-anticipated football game, the road ahead stretching long and dark under the weight of their excitement. But as the night falls, the atmosphere shifts, and the world outside their car begins to feel more like a threat than an adventure. Carly Jones is a bright-eyed young woman, full of ambition, eager to leave her small-town life behind and move to New York. Her boyfriend, Wade, is a small-town boy, unsure if he's ready for the big city's cold, steel heart. They are joined by Carly's friend, Paige, who is keeping a huge secret. She might be pregnant with her boyfriend, Blake's child, but she hasn't found the courage to tell him yet. So, tension crackles in the air, thick and sticky, as their friendships and secrets collide. Blake, in a rare moment of good intention, has invited Carly's twin brother, Nick, to come along. Nick is the bad twin, a juvenile delinquent with a sharp tongue and a chip on his shoulder. Carly has always been the good twin, the one with dreams and discipline, while Nick plays the part of the rebel, constantly pushing boundaries. Nick has brought along his friend, Dalton, who's loud, immature, and frankly, a bit obnoxious. When night falls, the group decides to set up camp in an open field, unaware that their peaceful evening is about to be shattered. The quiet is broken by a mysterious truck that pulls up to their campsite, its headlights blinding in the darkness. The driver refuses to speak, refuses to leave, and refuses to turn off the lights. Nick, growing impatient and angry, hurls a beer bottle at the truck, shattering its headlight. The tension lingers in the air, the strange encounter unresolved, as they go back to their fire, pretending everything's fine. But later that night, as everyone sleeps under the starry sky, Carly's instincts scream at her. Something isn't right. She stirs, senses heightened, and notices a shadow moving towards their camp. The real terror has only just begun. The next morning, the quiet of the camp is shattered as Wade inspects the car and discovers something chilling. His fan belt has been torn, or worse, cut. The thought lingers in the air, as unsettling as the cold morning fog. Carly and Paige, trying to shake off the strange events of the night before, wander off and come across something even worse. A large ditch, filled with roadkill, rotting in the open air like a grotesque warning. But then, as if the day couldn't get any stranger, a man appears, disheveled and smelling like he's been living in the wild for weeks. His eyes are wild, his movements jerky as he tosses a freshly killed deer onto the pile. His strange, unblinking gaze falls on Carly and Paige as he mutters something incomprehensible. The unease tightens around them. He offers to help, suggesting he can drive Carly and Wade to Ambrose, a nearby town, so they can fix the fan belt. The rest of the group, however, is eager to get to the football game, so they decide to stay behind. So, while Carly and Wade head off with the strange man, the others take off, leaving the quiet camp behind. But something about this doesn't sit right with the group left behind. They end up stuck in a traffic jam, an eerie stillness filling the air. The road is packed, cars locked in place, no way forward, no way back. So, they decide to turn around, heading back to the campsite to wait for Wade and Carly, unaware that the danger is closing in on them. Wade and Carly are unsettled, the lingering feeling of the creepy roadkill transporter gnawing at them. So, without a second thought, they decide to leave and head to Ambrose on their own. The drive is eerie, the road stretching endlessly in front of them. When they arrive in Ambrose, the town feels almost deserted, like a place stuck in time. But the church is full, its heavy wooden doors wide open, drawing them in with an unsettling quiet reverence. They pass by the church, their steps quickening as they approach the wax museum, a place that seems frozen in another era. It's run down, eerie, and everything inside is made of wax, lifelike figures frozen in time. The air feels thick, the figures staring at them with lifeless eyes, almost as if they were waiting for something to move. The silence is shattered when they notice a strange man standing outside the museum window, his face pressed against the glass like a shadow waiting to pounce. So, frightened and on edge, Wade and Carly hurry away and head to a nearby garage, desperate to find some normalcy. Inside, they meet Bo, a mechanic who had been in the church earlier. He's handsome and charming, his warm smile hiding something more sinister. He offers to take them to his house and sell them a fan belt, his casual conversation masking the tension growing between them. As they walk, Beau tells them the story of the Sinclairs, the former owners of the Wax Museum. From Dr. Victor Sinclair to his wife, Trudy, the tale is tragic. Victor had been fired from his previous position for performing experimental surgeries on patients, so he moved to Ambrose. His wife, Trudy, had found a strange passion for sculpting wax figures, but it wasn't enough to stave off the illness that eventually took her life. Grief-stricken and broken, Victor took his own life, leaving their children orphaned. The weight of the story hangs heavy as they continue walking to Beau's house, the sense of doom growing with each step. While Carly waits in the car outside Beau's house, her mind races, still shaken by the strange events unfolding. But then, her eyes lock onto something horrifying. The headlight of Beau's truck is broken. The same truck, the same unsettling presence that had tormented them the night before. Panic sets in as she realizes the danger they're in. So, she slams on the car horn, desperate to warn Wade. Wade, unaware of the impending threat, tries to leave the house, his footsteps quickening. But before he can even make it to the car, a shadow emerges from the darkness below him, and with a swift motion, his Achilles tendon is slashed, leaving him crumpled and vulnerable. The pain is unbearable, and before he can react, a sharp blade finds its mark, stabbing him repeatedly until his vision fades, everything going black. Beau's true nature is revealed then, as the facade drops, and he begins to chase Carly with a twisted, psychotic grin. So, Carly runs, heart pounding in her chest, desperate to escape the nightmare closing in. She darts through the dark streets, finally finding herself inside the church, a place that once seemed safe. But to her horror, the funeral guests she saw earlier aren't real. They're lifeless wax figures, frozen in place like a grotesque mockery of death. Her blood runs cold as she tries to comprehend what she's seeing, but it's too late. Beau captures her, dragging her away to the cellar of his gas station, where he seals her fate. Her lips are glued together, and in a cruel twist, he cuts part of her finger off as a twisted mark of his power. Meanwhile, in the Wax Museum, Beau's brother Vincent, the creepy man Carly had spotted earlier, begins his horrific work, slowly embalming Wade in wax, his lifeless body becoming just another figure in the twisted collection. Nick and Dalton finally arrive in Ambrose, their concern for their friends growing with every passing moment. But as they encounter Beau, Nick's worry turns to desperation as he asks if he's seen Carly or Wade. The air is thick with tension, the dark town surrounding them like a trap closing in. Carly, trapped in the cellar, hears Nick's voice and seizes the last thread of hope. So, with every ounce of strength she has left, she tears her lips open, screaming for help. The sound of her voice breaks through the silence, just in time for Nick to knock Beau over and rush to her side. With a frantic push, Nick frees Carly from her horrific prison. From the moment they stumble out into the light, the horrifying truth hits them. The entire town of Ambrose is dead, its residents preserved in wax, posed to make the town appear alive. It's a grotesque tableau of fake life, a twisted masquerade that chills them to the core. Meanwhile, Dalton enters the House of Wax, only to find Wade, still alive but completely covered in wax. He can barely move, trapped in a grotesque prison of wax, his body slowly becoming part of the macabre exhibit. Dalton, horrified, tries to peel the wax away, only to realize with growing dread that he's not peeling wax off Wade's body, he's pulling off his skin. The skin has fused with the wax, a grotesque and painful realization dawning on him. Before he can react, Vincent appears, his face twisted with madness. From that moment, a deadly chase begins, and in the chaos, Vincent slices part of Wade's face off, causing him to die from the shock. Dalton, panicking, stumbles down the stairs, but it's too late. Vincent is upon him, and in a swift, brutal motion, Dalton's life ends, his head falling to the ground with a sickening thud. Vincent's madness continues as he arrives at the campsite, where Paige and Blake are still obliviously waiting. But in a terrifying flash, Vincent strikes, stabbing Blake in the neck, blood spraying like a twisted fountain. So, Paige's scream is cut short as she is impaled on a metal pole, her body hanging lifeless as Vincent walks away, cold and unfeeling. Meanwhile, in Ambrose, Carly and Nick overhear a chilling conversation between Beau and Vincent. From the whispers that crawl like cobwebs in the dark, they learn the horrifying truth. The two men are the Sinclair children, twisted by their past. Vincent, the good twin from the opening, had once dreamed of following in his mother's footsteps to create beautiful wax figures. But Beau, the evil twin, had poisoned his brother's mind, pushing him to murder innocent people to make the figures more lifelike. The twisted history unravels further as Carly finds old newspaper clippings about Dr. Victor Sinclair, who separated his Siamese twin sons at birth, leaving Vincent severely disfigured, an angry soul trapped in a body that no longer felt like his own. As Carly and Nick scramble to escape, they're hunted down once more by the brothers. They race toward the Wax Museum, but in a desperate bid for survival, Nick sets fire to the House of Wax, igniting chaos. The entire entire house begins to melt, figures and memories crumbling in flames. Bo meets his end in a brutal moment as Carly, fueled by rage and survival instinct, smashes his skull in with a bat. Vincent, now alone and consumed by anger, refuses to let Carly escape. From the moment he sees Bo's lifeless body, Vincent's hatred burns through him, and he becomes fixated on killing Carly, blaming her for his family's broken legacy. Carly, heart pounding, tries to reason with him, pleading with him to see the truth about his family's corruption, but her words fall on deaf ears. In a final, violent clash, Carly plunges a knife into Vincent, pushing him through the melting wax floor, sending him to his death. His body lands on his brother's corpse, the two twisted souls forever entwined in the very place where they had once been conjoined. With the brothers finally dead, Carly and Nick crawl through the wreckage, digging their way out to safety through a crumbling wall. But as the smoke from the fire rises into the air, the distant wail of sirens signals that help is on the way. The siblings, bloodied and broken, are carried away by ambulance. Yet, as they leave Ambrose, a chilling revelation lingers. The sheriff discovers that there had been a third Sinclair child. In the final, unsettling moment, the roadkill transporter is seen petting Bo and Vincent's dog, waving to Carly and Nick as their ambulance disappears into the distance. The question remains, was this seemingly innocent man one of the Sinclair brothers, still lurking in the shadows, waiting for his next victim? So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps.